In this lesson, I suggest we refactor code in such a way that we will no longer need validator functions. So we will be able to completely remove this validators.ts module at the end of this lesson. So let's go through these validation functions one by one, see where each one is used, and try to refactor our code in such a way that we will no longer need these validation functions. Let's start with the first one, isPageValid. As we can see, this function is used only once inside router.ts, specifically inside normalizePageHash function. So in order to get rid of this function, I'm going to copy the function body and inline it on this place. So this way we can remove isPageValid function. First of all, let's just import constant nowItems inside this module, scroll up and remove unused import of isPageValid function. And finally, let's go back to validators.ts module and actually remove definition of this isPageValid function. Now let's actually continue doing these steps with the second validation function, isUndefined or null. If we'll take a look and find where this function is currently used, we'll see that it is used also in only one place, specifically inside baseSelect component. For this, computed property is not selected. This property is used as a value for an attribute selected on this options element. But we can actually compare the value of the selected prop with a null, and this way we're gonna get the same result. So there is no need to actually use that computed property. We can get rid of this property, and this way isUndefined or null function is no longer used at all. By the way, now that we don't reference props inside the script block of this component, we don't actually have to assign props object to the constant, because since we are only referencing props inside the template, view allows us to access those props from within template without actually assigning props object to any variables. So now we just have to get rid of any unused imports inside this component, and I also prefer to keep all my imports of types at the very end of the import statements. So I'm gonna move this statement to the bottom. And now let's go back to validators.ts and remove isUndefined or null function. As we can see, isUndefined function has become dimmed. That means it is no longer used as well. So we can also remove this one. There is one more function, isNull. Let's find out where this function is used. Thankfully, there is also only one place where we are referencing this function, specifically inside of functions.ts module. So this function is pretty simple, and we can inline body of this function directly in here by comparing value with null like this. So this way we can get rid of isNull function, and now that this file is completely empty, we can fully remove it. And just like that, thankfully to TypeScript, we were able to remove all validation functions in our application. And as we can see, application works as expected. We don't see any errors, so it's time to move on to the next lesson.